Bertrand Boyd, what's up, my brother?
What's going on, my man? How you doing?
I'm wonderful, man. How are you? How are you?
I'm taking the day at a time right now.
Man, we all are, man. We all are. And, I want to thank you for rocking with me today. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to, a fellow artist, man, fellow creator. I admire your work and your hustle. And as someone who also creates, I know that, you sort of have evolved in your artistry from poetry to acting and all the other things that you're doing. And so I really am excited to have this conversation because there's so much going on in our society and in our world. And as Black men, we have to find our outlets to be able to express ourselves. Otherwise, I feel like we'll implode. And I'm really interested to see sort of your journey into your artistry and what you're doing now to not only keep that creativity alive, but also bring along your community and build your community in the process. So I'm really excited to talk to you. So thank you.
No problem, man. I'm glad to be here, man. I took the time out. I was ready. I said I looked forward to it.
Dope. So what I like to do with all my podcasts is start off with asking you to tell me a story, man. I know you have lived a life, so I'm excited to hear what story you got for me today.
It's so funny. I ain't had one until at this very moment, so that's probably why I couldn't think of that. It's solid. But see, I'm from Miami. I didn't go to college right after I graduated high school. I started working in the warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
I was working at this warehouse that, my mother was working at the same company. So I was just working in the shipping department, 18 years old. And I'm just working there every day. In 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, same, just the grind.
Clocking in, clocking out. Clocking in, clocking out.
And that's it. That's all it was. Because I really didn't I didn't have no college aspirations. I wanted to play ball.
Mm-hmm.
I played football, but I wanted to play baseball. My baseball was like my first love.
Okay.
So nothing was going on with that. So I happened to be sitting there. I'm sitting at this computer one day, and you just kind of had one of those moments where I was just sat there and looked around the warehouse, and I just seen all the people that was working there. They were much older men, and they've been there 10, 15 years, and I'm like, ain't no way in the hell.
This ain't me.
I was like, this ain't me. I said, I ain't no genius, but I say I ain't far from a dummy. Like, I need to be doing something better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally like a Wednesday. It was the first week of January. I never forget. First week of January, 2006. It was a Wednesday. It was a Wednesday. I'm looking at everyone, and at that time, I'm like, man, I need to go to college. I just said it to myself. I need to go to college. I say that's about it. I need to go to school some kind of way. But I was like, I can't go to school in Florida. I was like, I ain't want to go to school where I knew I would actually run into friends and people that I knew. So I was like, no, I need to go somewhere where I'm a complete stranger, a new face, a clean slate. So I'm on the internet. I say, you know what? I got family in South Carolina. I said, let me look up South Carolina. I said, I always wanted to go to a Black college. I said, if I did go to college, I wanted to go to a Black college. I said, let me look up Black colleges in South Carolina. First college I see is Benedict College. I called Benedict. I called the school and called the office of admissions, and I speak to one person. One person talks to me for about 2 minutes. She passed me on. That person passed me on to another person.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to another person. That person passed me on to another person. I talked to like 4, 5 people. They passed me to one more person. This lady name is Linda Huggins. She gets on the phone. She talks to me. She say, "Where you from?" I say, "I'm from Miami." She's in Columbia, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Where you from?" I said, "I'm from Miami." She said, "Did you fill out an application to go to school here?" I said, "No, ma'am." She said, "Well, boy, how do you expect to go to school here if you never filled out an application?" She said, "You need a transcript from your high school." I said, "Oh, I need all that." She's like, "Oh, yes, sir. How you plan on getting to school?" I say, "Okay." She said, "Well, do you have any monies?" I was like, "Monies?" I was like, "No." I said, "No, Miss Lady, I'm just working in the warehouse. I'm 18. I'm 19 at the time."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "I'm just working in the warehouse just day by day right now, but I would like to go to school." She said, "Okay." She said, the first day is for registration is Saturday. It's Wednesday now.
Mm-hmm.
That is Saturday. I'm like, okay. She said, "I tell you what, my name is Linda Huggins. if you can get up here Saturday, I will get you into school. I say, ma'am, you do realize I didn't fill out an application. And she said, what did I say? She said, if you can get up here Saturday, you will get into this school. I took this lady's word off her face and just off her just being, her conviction was just sold me. I was like, okay. She wasn't playing around on the phone with me. She didn't sell me no drink. She said, if you can get here Saturday, I'll get you in school. That Wednesday, I quit. That same day. I worked in the warehouse, so I took all the boxes, packed them in my car, and I just went home.
You was out.
I went home. I packed everything. I had a 1988 Ford Taurus. Never forget. I packed everything. My mother gets home. My sister gets home. They looking at me and they like, what you doing? I'm like, I'm going to school. Both of them look at me like with the craziest. Like, what you mean you going to school? You just woke up, went to where you weren't even thinking. College was never on the mind.
Yeah.
I say, well, this lady told me if I get up here Saturday, I can go. I said, well, if I leave in the morning, I'll be up there Thursday. I said, I need to meet her. Everybody crying, tripping, because I'm literally, it's just a flip, just an instant flip turnaround. I drive to South Carolina. I never driven that far in my life.
So you had a whole, before this, you had a whole bunch of I have nevers, and it's only Wednesday.
Never. Hey, this is only Wednesday for real.
It's only Wednesday.
So I'm literally, so Thursday I hit the road. I hit the road Thursday. I get up early. I get the road. I hit the road. I get to South Carolina eventually. It's about almost 5 o'clock. Campus isn't open really. I mean, people are working, the employees are there, but students aren't there yet. I get to the front. I get to the front gate. A security guard by the name of Marcel Barber. She says, well, Miss Huggins is in such and such office. She said, well, you better go down there and catch her before she leaves. So I get to the office. I pull up to the office. I get out looking real Miami, gold teeth, just walk in. I walk into her and I walk in and I ask for her. And then I hear in the back, is that boy from Miami? I know that's not that boy from Miami. She come out the office. A short lady, bald, gray hair, sassy something, clean. She walk out the office, she look at me. She said, I'll be damned. You really showed up. I say, well, how else I supposed to get here? I didn't know what else I was supposed to do, so I figured I'd just come up here now. She said, you know the school not open, right? I said, I know now. In my mind, I really was going to either get a hotel or just thug it out of the car because I was just really on some wing and the press stuff. So I went up there. I'm sitting there talking to this lady. She takes me to her office. She says, you better not sell an aspirin on my campus under my name. She said, you better not get into no trouble. She goes down. And I guess the fellas from Miami or from Florida done wrecked shop before I even got there. So she had a whole list of things. She was like, you can't be doing this. That lady I graduated in 2009. She stayed there until at that college. She was ready to retire until she met. The lady took me under her wing. That same day, I had no money. I had a few dollars, but I ain't had no money to be paying for no room or nothing. But she got me a dorm room that day. She called somebody and she said, I got some crazy boy from Miami. He need a room. She got me a room. She got me food she got me everything I needed up until that Saturday. That Saturday, I registered. I was a full-time college student at Benedict College. 4 years later, I graduated, and she stayed there up until I graduated. That's when she retired and started doing some other stuff, traveling and stuff. But that lady, like my mother, like she took me under her wing, and she looked out for me like every single day for 4 years. You can tell we talk weekly now, but for 4 years while I was in college, while I lived in South Carolina, she was my mom. She took me in, like, so. That's my story. Like I went through college. I graduated really because of her. Once I got there, it was because of her.
That is an amazing story, man. And so, what was it about? Did you ever ask in that journey, what was it about me and my voice that prompted her to say, "Come on up"? Was it she was just in a good mood that day?
Hey,
what was it?
She said she was just in a good mood that day. She said I was in a good mood, and then when I got on the phone with you, she said she had heard everyone had been talking to me. So at that point, when it got to her, she was like the last person to speak to, and she was just open to helping me out. And she really, really took me in. Had never seen me before, never met me, didn't know who I was from a can of paint. But that woman she took me in.
That was supposed to happen.
It was.
It was those are those moments when you look back and you were like, that wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't a coincidence that you had to go through all those people to get to her, because that was her trigger to be like, oh, this boy's serious. Like he really want to get some information. And if I'm going to be the one to open our gates, open our home to this young man who has some interest in getting educated, I'm going to do whatever I can to help him. And that's special.
And she did just that. Like she threw me a big graduation party and everything. Like she was everything for me. Like my mom loved her. Like she didn't have to do what she did, but she did it anyway out of the goodness of her heart. So I was very grateful, man. Very grateful for her. Like I go to the ends of the earth for her.
And what was your experience like at a HBCU? Like for you as the human, as a Black man coming from Miami, experiencing an HBCU in that way. Like your first experience with the HBCU was a mother-like figure or auntie or a woman that brought you in, and then you get on campus, and now what? Like what was your classroom experience, the campus experience? What was that like?
The first week, I'll never forget. The first weekend, was like, it wasn't a culture shock. It was just the atmosphere was kind of shocking for me. Like I wasn't used to the fraternities, and I just wasn't used to that type of setting. Like I had, you only see stuff like that on movies, so I never really was like invested in trying to know anything up until the day I decided I wanted to go to college anyway. So with that, you get a sense of being proud once, over time, like just to be in that setting, to be honest with you. You looking, and not to mention, you actually had, had some white classmates, but for the most part, you being on this historic ground, at this historically Black college, and you being taught by, it's like I've never had any male teachers up until college.
Really?
So yeah, I never had any male teachers. All my teachers have been female. So I had some male, and they were from, my male teachers, their professors, they were from Africa and stuff like that. So they were hard on me. Like they were very, very, like, I think all my professors were very hard on me, because I think for them, they saw something that I wasn't willing to really display at the time. Like I really wasn't. I'm very closeted. I'm a big time introvert, but
yeah,
for the most part, when I'm in a setting with other minds, I can be very quiet. I won't share no opinions or nothing like that. I won't raise my hand. I'm really just kind of sitting there, and I've always been good at retaining information, which is like always been like a trick for me. So like I don't really take a lot of notes. I can really just sit there and listen, and I can give you back damn near verbatim what you tell me, because that's just where my little knack with listen. I think that's where the writing and the poetry and the acting stuff kind of helps me out, to be honest with you. It goes off of that. But then I think about my dad, not to go off course, but he never went to college or whatnot. When I was a young dude, his punishments were, I have this photo that says "Bringing Black History into Focus," and there's 21 names on it. And it names these 21 names, and they have numbers on them. And his punishments were standing in front of this picture and learning each name and what they done, and all these historic figures. My dad was from Tuskegee, Alabama, so my dad was very militant, man. So so me standing in front of these pictures, and I'm just, I gotta remember it. I gotta remember every name, everything. And he gonna sit there, and he gonna drill me. He gonna just turn me back. 21. I'm gonna tell you 21, Malcolm X. 1, Martin Luther King. 2, Frederick Douglass. Like I still, and to this day, I still know.
It sounds like you still can rattle them off.
It's the funniest thing, because I had my daughter doing it too the other day. But no, it wasn't punishment, but it's just her just so she'll know. So I mean, I think all those things, childhood up until that very point, and getting into college and going to a Black college, it was just really tailor made for me. It just took a a little different route to get there. You understand? So
yeah, that's beautiful because I went to HBCU as well. I went to Morehouse in Atlanta, and
okay,
and that was similar to you. It was a culture shock because I'm from Chicago, but I grew up in Boston, and so the amount of prestige around Black folks and being in a classroom with the majority of the students looking like me, the people who are educating me look like me. When I go to financial aid or any office, all the staff members, they look like me. So that in and of itself was just like, this is like a whole nother world,
right.
compared to what I was used to. And so for you being in HBCU, at what point did you already have the creative abilities, or were you already exploring your creativity in college, or did you, once you got there, that's when everything opened up for you?
Actually, I was already I started doing poetry at 17. I just was introduced to it while I was in high school, so I was already writing. But I think once I got to South Carolina and away from what I knew, and I was able to just kind of explore myself as as an individual, I think that's when I really and truly found my voice as a writer, as a performer, as a poet. Just being able to just figure out what suits me and what I would like to exude or display, through my art. So at that point, being in college and you're not, it's not fun all day. So sometimes you are kind of just sitting in the dorm room and you really ain't got nothing to do. But if you have an outlet, me, being a writer or whatnot, it worked for me. So I was just able to trial and error and just write, perform, and I did a lot of hustling, boy, in South Carolina.
Yeah.
If I ain't do nothing else, I hustled.
And what was the vibe? What was the vibe like there? Like when you shared your ability, was like your classmates or your dorm mate or anybody was just like, yo, this is dope, I need you to continue it? Because you said you were an introvert. So at what point did you actually share that ability?
Well, being down here in Miami, I think being a performer, like I just had an itch to perform anyway. So if anything, like I would dabble in certain things like that. I think it was one particular day where I won this competition for $500 in the gym. But it was what it throws everyone off is, I think, it's the appearance. And even with me being in a Black college, they're still looking at you a certain way or whatnot. They could tell they could tell I wasn't from South Carolina. They knew I was from Florida. Like, everyone knew I was from Miami. Everyone.
Yeah.
So they didn't even know. Like, I don't even think people knew my name. Everyone just called me Miami when I got there. Like, I was just solidified. Yeah. And there's 100 people from Miami, but I just so happened to be the one they called. So it was just one of those things where once I performed, it was like a shock and awe. And then, like, I was a freshman. I was giving campus tours at a college. Hell, I didn't even know what all the things were, but I was there, and they was like, "Well, we can do it."
So you made your mark immediately.
Hey, let me tell you, Miss Linda Huggins was not playing with me. Like, she got me a job on campus. I worked for her. I was an RA on campus. I was involved. Like, I gave the campus tours to all the kids that was traveling from other states to see the sites and whatnot on campus. So I was definitely involved all the time. And she made sure of it too.
And what's your thoughts on, because like you coming from Miami now put this into perspective for me. Coming from Miami, I'm not sure I think of Miami as a hotbed for poetry. I think more like hip hop and rap, that kind of vibe, and partying and all of that. And so someone is so entrenched in that culture to come out and be a poet or have a love for poetry, was that something that was encouraged by like the people that you grew up with? Or like, how did you lean more into poetry versus what was around you by partying and that kind of stuff? Or I could just be completely getting my
you asking some questions where hey, let me tell you what I told you, I got some stories to tell. So I'm a senior in high school. I'm a senior in high school, and I'm skipping class in this particular teacher's classroom where she was she happened to be the cheerleading coach. And I played football and stuff, so you just chilling in the classroom, just vibing. I'm a singer, so you just doing what singers do. So I'm in the classroom just chilling, and she happened to, that it was Friday, and that Thursday night, there was a little spot called Funk Jazz Lounge on the beach. It was real prominent at the time. And she happened to be there that night and purchased a CD from a guy named Will the Real One, named Willie Bell. She purchases a CD, and she gets to the classroom the next day, and then she kind of finds out that I'll be dabbling in the writing. So she plays the CD for me. She plays the CD, it's a black cover, and all you see is my man's eyes, and it says Verbal Vision on it. She plays the CD, and I'm like, and as soon as I hear it, I'm like, yo, like, this ain't rap. Like, what is it? Like, I ain't never heard nothing like this before. Like, I was just writing like little poems and little stories and whatnot. I had never heard of seen spoken word, ever, before. So here I am, 17. I'm just like, oh wow. Like,
and it had music in the background.
Yeah, and it had music. Yeah, so
okay.
Some of it was live, some of it was acapella, some of it had music. So I ain't, you don't get no hip hop album really like that. So I'm listening to it, and I'm like, but I'm listening to what he's saying. I'm like, that's heavy. Like I like this. I fuss with this. I could dig this. She was like, well, I'm trying to bring him to the school. I'm like, you trying to bring him here to North Miami? I'm like, okay. I say, well, you let me know when he get here so I can come, come to the class, come and see him in the library. I'll be damned. A week later, he shows up. I'm trying to go see him, but the teacher won't let me go see him. So I'm like, come on, like, I'm really going to the library. Let me go. She was like, nah. I'm like, well, take one for the team. So I left.
Take one for the team. I love it. Yeah, bro.
My man team too. So.
Oh man.
So I left. I walked to the library. Like, I wasn't even going. Like, I literally was going to the library, and it was in the same hallway. So I wasn't going nowhere else. I'm gonna leave my stuff. Like, I'm going to the library. I'll be back in 15 minutes. Whatever. I left. I get to this library. This dude standing there. He's like 6'4", dark skin, this little afro, gold teeth. I'm like, it's the same cat that was speaking that stuff that I was listening to.
Right, because you only saw his eyes, right?
That's
so
all I saw.
Know what he looked like.
He looked like nothing.
Yeah.
So I see this dude, and I'm already intrigued on the appearance. I'm like, okay, like, you look like you from around the way where I'm from. Like, okay, cool. So he performs, and as soon as he performs, I'm like, yo, like, he does this poem called So I Run. He actually did it on Deaf Poetry. And I'm like, yo, I was at that point, at that very moment, I was like, I gotta do this. Like, I have to do this. I don't know what the whole library, everyone that people weren't even watching, just stopped just to listen to this man. I'm like, that's the kind of respect I like. Like, that's different, right?
That's the attention that you wanted. Like,
like,
I want it to be like that.
And I never had no interest in rapping, like, ever. Like, but what people didn't know, I was actually songwriting in high school, but that's a different story. But I was intrigued. I was like, yeah. So that particular day was the first time I ever read in front of people. So I read also like after him, and he was like, you got something, and then he just really just took me up under his wing. His name is Willie Bell. I got his name tatted on my arm. Back in 2000, fast forward, he done showed me the ropes. I done did all the traveling. Like, my first featured show was in Turks and Caicos. I ain't even have a passport then. This is when you can just fly with your birth certificate.
Right.
I had never left the country. I had been on a plane before, but I had never left the country. My first feature was in Turks and Caicos with him and two other poets, because some other poet from Turks and Caicos seen us and wanted to fly us all out there. So we featured out there. So that was my first show ever. With him, everything I've probably learned on and off stage.
And all of that you got from him. You were groomed by him.
This from him. Like, hands down, this from him. And unfortunately, back in 2010, we was at his poetry spot. We was at his poetry venue, and like, that particular night, he was like, "Hey," it was some rappers in there. He was like, "Hey, man, let's show them how we do this." And we were good at what we did. We were great. So I never performed with him. He was like, all right, I'm gonna go on stage, right? I'm gonna get it, and then when I get off, you're gonna follow me up. So I'm like, cool, we're gonna do that. I said, man, we did that. Rock the mic. The show is over. He walks out his venue, and like, I really like at this, like, I'm always been like on his coattail. So he walks out his venue. And I see him walk out his venue. I ain't really want nothing, but he was walking out there, so I would want to walk out there too. So, you know, the show was over, people were talking and stuff. He walks to his car about 10 feet to the right. And as I'm walking outside, I see another car pulls up real fast right there in front of me, and then it curves off, and it stops in front of him. And all you hear is 5 shots let off. Wow, wow, wow. Just 5 shots hit off real quick. And I'm like, everyone started running. So I just duck around the corner. So then when I come back around, once it kind of died down, like he was the only one I hadn't seen like standing up. And, you know, he got killed back in 2010, May 29th.
Wow.
So like that was like crucial. So for me, like around this time, I'm really emotional because with his birthday, my dad's birthday, his passing, my dad's passing, all of that is like all at the same, like within you know, months of each other. So it'd be a lot for me around this time, you know, like emotionally. But I really be trying to stay focused on when you talk about outlets and stuff. Like I'd be real glad I have an outlet. Like
that's man. And so what has his spirit done for you since then as it relates to your outlets? Were you able to explore other aspects of your creativity other than poetry because of the things that he taught you as far as, you know, stage presence, as far as professionalism, as far as traveling, like all of those things that come along with artistry, right? It's not just the art, there's some things around that makes the art be seen. How has he influenced you in that way?
Man, for the most part, I try to be as true to me as possible. Like, you know, his name was Will the Real One. Like, he really just spoke on what he'd been through or what he sees or what, you know, what's going on and whatnot. So for me as an artist, like I always tried to be just real authentic. You know, that was if anything, that was my niche, you know, because I don't like to sound like a poet. Like I like the way I sound doing poetry, but I don't like to sound like a poet, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
but, yeah, sometimes it just becomes real redundant. So with him, man, it was, I never seen myself not writing. And strangely enough, before I even thought about acting, he used to tell me like, youngster, he used to call me, you know, my stage name was Youngster at the time. He was like, youngster, man, he said, man, I really want to get into acting. He said, the only thing is, I can't leave my baby. His baby was the cafe. Like his heart was really into the cafe lounge that he owned. So he didn't want to leave it in no one else's hands and it not be ran right. Or he just, you know, he just didn't feel like people would come if he wasn't there. So it just wasn't something that he did. So strangely enough, I got into the acting like after his passing. You know, after my father's passing, that's when I started acting in 2012. And man, for the most part, I just stayed the course. I really never tried to pick up any other things. Like if I'm a writer, I felt like I could dabble in different aspects of writing. I could do the poetry, I can write a book, I can write a script, you know, so I'm a writer. You know, me performing is me performing, so I can perform, I can be the actor, I can be the poet, I can be the orator, I can just speak if I need to. But you know, I run, you know, facilitate programs with kids and whatnot. That's really where my heart is. I love the youth, like they get on my nerves, but I love the kids. Like, oh man, like that's where my heart has always been at. So working with little knuckleheads has really been like something that's been very therapeutic, if anything, because they so genuine, they so real. So it's just one of those situations you can't even knock out of the truth because they gonna give it to you blood raw.
Right. Do you see a lot of yourself in the young people that you work with?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not often, because the upbringing is different, to be honest. So I'm dealing with like when I have to, it's rough. Okay, so I taught high school. So imagine your high school teacher looks like me. Like I walk in the classroom, I got a fitted cap on. I really look like this is your high school teacher. You know, so I got a whole parent-teacher conferences with these teachers, and they expecting one thing, and then when they get it, it's like, oh, so yeah, like, this is what we gotta do. This is who we here. This is Mr. Boyd. Oh, okay, how you doing, sir? But it's a different upbringing. It's, you know, I had, you know, my dad was a very stern individual. Like my parents were very, very stern. And at the time, you think it was punishing, you know, you think it was being mean. I thank the universe all the time for them being the way they were with me, to be honest with you. Like because there's a lot of things that they've instilled within me that I can't even let go. Like, it's just certain morals and values that I refuse to let go. It's just like simple, and it's simple. It can be the the most simplistic thing, like even just like simple as manners, like good morning, how you doing? Like, I can't not be somewhere and not say good morning to the whole room. Like, I ain't gotta sit there and hold conversation and high five everyone, but good morning, everyone. I can walk in and be perfectly fine.
So
like, don't call me and just
integrity. It was integrity about how you move in the world.
I'm telling you, and that's how they were. Like that, and my dad, like, we used to fight, and the craziest thing, I'm just like him right now. Like, I'm just like my dad. If you never met my dad, me is pretty much, hand in hand.
Yeah. And so as far as like your poetry and then transition into spoken word, like what would you say like one of your defining pieces were? Like, because you said you won the talent show in college. You had this, you traveled to Turks and Caicos to perform. Was there ever a poem that you performed where you were like, I have arrived? Like, I know I got a talent, I know I got a gift in this, but this one right here speaks to my core in ways in which nothing else does. Do you have a piece like that?
I don't even think like that. Like, shit, I felt like I had a ride when I first started writing. Like, it's just a feel. It's just, I don't know. It's just certain. I just have a certain feel for certain pieces that I write, that I've written. So it's just one of those things where, like, they bring out certain kind of emotions, when performed or whatnot. I know I got to a point where transitioning just performance-wise, like I remember performing when I first started, and I was very loud, and I yelled a lot. Because that's what I had seen, so I figured that's what you're supposed to do. And then it took me to go to college, and really, my dad was an avid, reader, so I did a lot of reading. I'm like, you know what? If the content, the words are strong enough, there's no need to yell. Like, if you use the correct word, there's no need to yell. There's no need to. You already got a mic, so you talking about volume on top of this mic, like, bro, you just blowing them out. So I want to get to a point where there was like a certain fluidity in my writing, a certain style to where I was clear, I wasn't yelling, and I just wanted to build in the artistry itself, So I never wanted to be or sound like anyone else. I wanted, when people heard me, it was like, oh, okay, like I've heard some poetry, but he rocks it a little different. I like his vibe.
Man, like, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it's like I'm so intrigued by do you have a poem that you could just like give me a little something from, like a little performance, like a couple of bars of something that you've done on stage like several times?
Oh shit, you really are putting me on the spot. That wasn't in
Yeah, we vibing right now, bro. We vibing.
Oh. All right, let me see if I can play with something right quick. All right.
Okay. Bet.
Shit. How does go? I don't even know how this works. I get lost in my own space most times trying to find myself. Unsure of my effort hold any value, my bravado feels shallow. Drowned imperfections in brown bottles of bittersweet. This be a temporary relief I've grown accustomed to. It doesn't burn as bad as it used to. I laugh at some of the things that I've gotten used to. I applaud my solitude. Echoes of repeated ovations, yet I stand alone. Detached from the pack, we may favor, but we differ the same. I put on smiles just to mask my pain. You can tell it's heavy from the weight I've gained. Balance maintained, I know my ledge. Limits are pushed to the point I suffocate on my ambitious nature. I dare not choke, it's not smoke I blow. Hope fueled by stubborn genetics, I wonder where my head is most days. Trying to pave ways by page. My valid attempt to keep my mind at bay, I'm calm. Broken bottles are shattered by hollow excuses. She can smell the excuses around my collar. I forgot to call her again. My excuses remain consistent. My ambition keeps me distant. And I'm gonna start right there because I'm long-winded as hell.
My man. I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. So Bet you started in a warehouse. You
Right.
hauled off and went to college.
Right.
Got connected to an amazing woman. Had an HBCU experience. Start performing in poetry. Now, at what point did you really dig into your acting career? Like, how did that transition? Was it by mistake, or was it something that was intentional? Because I know, you said your mentor in the performance, he wanted to be an actor, but then you got into it after. So like,
Right.
how did that? Was it just like, let me just try something because I want to explore?
Well, it's kind of always been in the back of my mind, but I had never really known how to go about the route that becoming doing an acting. I was actually dating someone at the time, and she was like, "You need to start acting." And I started taking like a few courses and whatnot. And I ain't gonna lie, those classes were just weird. So I was just like, if this is what they gonna keep giving me, I can't. It's not gonna work with me like at all. But fast forward, I'm a guy that was managing me at the time. I'm in Tampa. No, I'm not in. I'm in Tampa doing the show, and he hits me up, was like, "Hey, bro, you feel like acting? Like, you ever thought about acting?" I was like, "No." He was like, "Well, you can do this audition that I signed you up for anyway, if you want." I was like, "Well, let's do it." And it was a student film. They liked me, and like I did that film, and like my first 5-6 films are all student films, short films. But that was actually great for me because I was working with students that really wanted to be actors. Actually, at that time, I'm really just dabbling in it, like, okay, whatever, something to do, something else. But I liked it. I really, really started liking it. And as I started doing more short films, I can see the progress. Because my first few films, I was like, whoo, what? That's rough, what? So, like, that's kind of rough. But to see the progression, I was like, okay, I'm all for it. So I just really, 2012 was my first time I ever stepped foot on the set and started doing acting. And then, 2012 to 2020, I still been acting, working and grinding because I get told no all the time, and I don't even know how to accept that. That don't bother me none. So I'm always working.
So now you are well into acting, and Queen and Slim comes into play. What was that like for you? Like Lena Waithe, like, that's, we'll get into the character in a second, but what was it like being, whether you auditioned for, how did you actually get that role in that film?
I'm a big fan of like having friends that are doing their damn thing as well. Like you really got to attach yourself to a strong circle of people, whether you speak every day or not. Just have people in your corner that's just doing what they do, but doing it well, and they progressing in it. So I just so happen to be in that. I just so happen to be in LA celebrating my birthday, and at the time I'm already thinking about films and stuff. So I go package with these manila envelopes. I got headshots, pictures. I got jump drives. I got a whole nine, and I already seen all of. It's frowned upon to show up to these agencies with unannounced, with unsolicited material. So what? I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna show up anyway. I don't care. Like, that's my MO. Like, just go do it. Like, it's nice. So I'm like, let's go. So me and my homegirl, she an actress. She like, shit, let's do it. So she gang. So let's do it. We travel to LA. We traveled to LA, and in the midst of celebrating my birthday, I really went there for a purpose. So I went there. I actually had a few shows, so I do the shows. But during the day, we Ubered to Burbank and just walked up and down to all the agencies that are in walking, distance, what's in the vicinity, and then because they just happen to be like all in the same street. So
right.
Some places we can get into, some places you can't.
So you saw it as like a block of opportunity. Like, this is a block of opportunity.
I was like, why not? I would hate it, the fact that I could not do it when I had all the opportunity to do so. I'm like, come on, man, you here. Like, why not do it?
Right.
So I just did it the whole grassroots way, and I'm just showing up and dropping shit off. Like, they just looking at me like, bro, like, I'm gonna ask you, like, so what? Here, take it anyway. Like, right. So you might keep it. Who knows? I don't know. So I do that whole dollar for that, that whole weekend. But I go to my last show, and coincidentally, I had 2 homeboys call me up. They were like, "Hey, we see you in LA. We get on to LA too." I'm like, "What y'all going to LA for?" They're like, "Well, we got a interview with CAA." I'm like, "Oh, y'all got an interview?"
Right there.
Yeah. Now, it was so funny to me because I get to CAA. And I get up there, they ain't let me pass the test. They was like, "No, you stop it right here."
Maybe the sir.
Like, bro, you ain't getting past this test. I'm like, "Oh."
Right.
So they tell me they got an interview. I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Mm-hmm.
But show y'all from the right, they don't act. He's like, "Yeah, we from the right." I'm like, "Oh, y'all writing right," and I know they can write. So I was like intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, I leave LA. About a month later, they hit me and it's like, "Bro, we write for Oprah Winfrey own David Makes Man with Terrell McCraney, the writer of Moonlight. He's from Miami as well." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's what's up." I'm like, "Man, congrats, bro." He's like, "No, fuck that. We didn't call you for that. We called to tell you we want to put you in for an audition." I'm like, "Oh, shit." like, put me in then. I'm ready.
Yeah.
So, I get the audition. I send the tape in. They like the tape. They was like, "Okay, well, you got to fly yourself to Atlanta to audition, for the producers." I'm like, "Cool." I fly to Atlanta. They like me in Atlanta. They were like, "Okay, cool." A week later, they send me a ticket. We're going to fly you to LA so you can audition for the studios. I'm like, "Cool. Okay, it's third. It's another audition. Here we go." By then, I don't know the script inside out. So we get there. I get to LA, kill my audition. I'm like, ain't no way in hell they can pick somebody over me, especially with the character that y'all presenting. Like, that's me. It's so weird. Yeah, I didn't get the role, so I don't get the role.
Yeah, you had me like, yo, okay, so you started acting in that role.
So I don't get the role, right? What's so funny is like they'll call and email the hell out of you up until they don't need your ass no more. They ain't even send me an email saying like, "I don't need you." Like, "Thanks for the audition." Like, nah, none of that. Just no call, no more. But I don't, once I done peep game a few years, like, "Oh, okay, this is how this works." Right. But I get the phone call. I get an email like really like weeks later after not getting any word from the folks with David Makes Man. I don't get that role. So I get an email from the casting agency. I'm like, "Oh, okay, what's up?" They send me a script. I'm like, "They want you to audition for this role." I look at the script. I'm like, "Lena Waithe, bitch, Lena Waithe." I was like, okay, Lena Waithe. I'm like, "Okay, I know this." Right. I see the characters. I actually auditioned for my first audition was for the father with the son that got hit. And that was my first audition. They had but then they like a day later they sent me, say, "How about this one?" When I read the character, I was like, "Okay, let's do it." I sent the tape in. They hit me up like a week later with an email saying, "You're the director's choice, but it still got to get studio approval." I was like, "Oh shit, Melina chose me." I say, Lena didn't even see me yet. So I was like, this is all off Melina right now. I'm like, "Oh, okay."
She's dope.
So,
she's dope.
And I was like, yeah. And I was like, shit, if you're the director's choice, and in this game, they want you. You're gonna probably get it, if anything. If you're the director's choice. Man, they sent me that email saying, like, "Yeah, we want you, and this is going to hire you." Probably one of the happiest days ever, boy. I was like, "Wow, this is about to be a movie." Like, and it was so crazy. I think I shared it one time. I really shared like the news one time, and I left it at that. I'm not really talking. I just like, people just kind of wake up one day and be like, "Bro, like, why you ain't say nothing?" So I shared one time, and then because I couldn't really tell people what I was doing, so it was just one of those like, "Yeah, I'm in the movie," but that's it. I don't think it really hit. Sometimes I don't really think it really sunk in yet, but I don't think it really hit me really until the trailer dropped. And my phone was getting blown up because I didn't know, because I was out of town doing the show, and I was in the hotel. And I was actually in the hotel watching the damn Charlo twins fight. So I'm just sitting there watching. No, I'm watching the boxing match. And when I watched boxing, I turned my phone off, so I was focused.
Right.
Until it blew. And then when the fight was over and then my phone blowing, I'm like, what's going on? I'm thinking somebody done died. You know, like called me this many times. And the trailer dropped. And like the day before, I had said, damn, I would love to make the trailer. And I just you know, talking to myself, just thinking things through.
Yeah.
Man, it was just, it was life changing, man. It's been life changing. I can't even front.
Man, what is Lena Waithe like, man? Like, what's it like working with her and Melina? Like, those are like brilliant creators, man. Like, what was your vibration like once you got on set with those two? Like, they're like beasts, right? Like I can't imagine. I just can't imagine, man.
I don't think I've never been that nervous ever in my life. Like ever about nothing. Like nervous. I'm like, let me sit down and let me get myself together. You think about, I've been doing this, I've been going over this script. Now and I've been going over it by myself. I ain't even going over it with someone. So I'm reading my lines and reading the other person's lines as if someone's there. But I've just been doing this every day up until, you know, I'm time for me to hit New Orleans.
Yeah.
And then it's like light camera action. You know, they're not really, they're expecting you to be prepared. You know what I'm saying? You're not coming in there trying to learn your lines. No, you coming in there knowing your lines.
There's no like rehearsing and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, they had rehearsals. I mean, rehearsal was, well, are they setting up these lights and these cameras? Hey, yo, Daniel, Joe, let me go over these lines with y'all right quick. I was cool. I was glad that they was cool with that, because sometimes you mess people on set, they be like, nah, I know my stuff, so I'm good. Like, you know,
right.
But you want to build some type of rapport, some type of chemistry on set. So I mean, my whole thing was like, I didn't want to be the weakest link at all. Like, I didn't want to, you know, you can get replaced on set. Like, you can easily be like, okay, we need to find somebody else to do this. But that didn't happen. I didn't want that to happen, because I really was in there, like, really hoping that everything went as smoothly as I saw it happen. You know, as I envisioned it. Being on set with Melina and Lena was very surreal, to be honest with you, because the best time for me on set, one of the best times, was I was actually sitting eating lunch by myself, like in this corner, and I guess it was more space around me, so Melina and Lena came and sat with me. So they sat with me, and we just eat lunch, chopping it, you know, they chopping it up. And then I'm like, I'm real quiet, so I really don't say nothing. Then I say, you know what, why not? So I had tweets and DMs that I had already sent to Lena, like really like a year before, or maybe a year and a half before, on some manifestation. I'm big on manifesting shit. So I'm like, I said, check this out. That's all I really did. I said, hey, check this out. And she read it. She was like, oh my God. I was like, just a list of just talking.
You can see the date and everything, that it wasn't.
The date and everything. All of it say 2018, and maybe one from 19. But she was like, look at God. I was like, man, this is some crazy. Like I said I was gonna be doing this. Like I said it easily. So just being on set, it was just an experience, man. She's very she's about her script. I know that for sure. Like it was like, you know, the turn from it, and then no throwing extra words, nothing like that. They actually gave me extra lines. That was funny, because I was like, you know, I'm so like to the book right now. I'm like, okay, I got my lines down pat. They were like, nah. Me and Daniel had a good time on set. I like people that don't trash talk with me, and that's all he did. I was like, okay, that comforts me, you know. So I was like, he did was talk trash on set, and he felt like something wasn't right, and he was like, we got to take this out. So I look at him. Then Lena agrees to it, like, yo, we're gonna take this out. Then we're gonna put this, and then we're gonna put this, and then we're gonna put this. I'm like, oh, so y'all gonna take these lines out, but then add these 3-4 lines. I was like, that wasn't in the script. Like, y'all want me to learn that right now, and you go do it.
You gave him the, but y'all said, this is.
I was like, Daniel, what you doing, bro? You making it tough for me, right? He said, you got it. I'm like, no, boy. But I had it, you know. I was on point. I was nervous as hell every day though. But I had me a good drink before I got on set every day because I had to get my nerves down because they were high. Then I had my own trailer and stuff. I wasn't used to none of that stuff, so I was like,
and so having that amazing experience on set, meeting those two, you know, I believe they're going to be icons because the work that they're doing is just unbelievable. Beautiful sisters doing their thing, but your character is a character that most people hate. Right. You know what I mean? So what was that like? Like, you come from the experience of this euphoric experience, and then people see the movie, and then almost, it's a lot of times when you get connected to a character, if they hate you, that means you did a good job. If they like you, that means you did, you know what I mean? Because there's an emotion, there's a visceral experience to your performance. So what was that? What's that like for you, having to play that kind of character when, particularly now, right? Like, we're, you know, Black Lives Matter and Black People Unite and Black Excellence and all that, and you were the person to do the exact opposite in the film. What was that like for you in terms of the reaction from the public?
I think it would have been better had I anticipated it.
Yeah.
I didn't. You know, like, for me, like, wholeheartedly, like, I just wanted a job. I wanted to work. I wanted to, you know, do the movie. Like, I was in it for, you know, the feelings that you described.
Yeah.
But it was once the film dropped, the character hit, and then it was like it was a wave. Like, it was a typhoon. Like, people flooded my my DMs and my pictures and stuff. Like, they were going in. Like, I had to change so many different settings on my IG because of what was happening. I just didn't anticipate it. Like, I'm not used to that attention. I ain't want it.
Right.
I understood it, you know. So for me, as who I am, like, I'm very temperamental in my own little way. So I had to check myself though a lot. Like, I had, you know, it really was it's a humbling experience because, like, I had to realize, like, the people really were emotionally invested in this film and the character you portrayed. You know, I would wish, you know, some of them could, you know, detach and separate it sometimes, because a few times it's been a little more than I care to, you know, to really deal with. But I understood. I mean, it just was a lot for me. I wasn't expecting, you know, any other backlash that I received. But once it hit, you know. But I had, you know, certain people that's really tight in my circle was like, bro, like, that's just because you did your thing. Like, that's all that is. You just, you know, they really was just invested in, you fucked them over, so you got to really enjoy this. Like, you just don't have to take this all in, to be honest with you, man. But understand, like, it's a fine line between, the artistry and, you know, reality, to be honest. And so it's a lot of things I just had to be able to learn to take and deal with, and luckily I grew up the way I did. I got pretty good thick skin, so it wasn't really that bad, but sometimes it just got more annoying than anything.
Yeah. Well, man, I really enjoyed your performance. You know, I felt the way about you for sure. Like, I can't lie. I love the film, but I felt the way about your character. And I think that that's because I'm a fan of film, and because I'm a fan of the Lena and the way she, you know, to Shy, like the way her characters have all these different dimensions to them. You know what I mean? At the end, I felt disappointed that one of us was preventing, you know, them from getting to the next place. But I also could understand the conversations that could develop because of that film. You know, I've had a lot of interesting conversation with my peers about, you know, not only your character, but what they did in their character. So I think, you know, overall it serves as a conversation piece for our culture. And I think the film, me personally, I think that film is going to end up reaching classic status as time passes and people look back at it. They're going to realize that there was a lot of important themes and character arcs in that film that really spoke to the times and really speak to what was happening in our society at that time, on both ends, you know. And I'm sure you probably walked away feeling some things about it as well.
Yeah. My character was initially supposed to be a white man. So that's that in itself was interesting to me, and like it was just certain little things little nuances that I picked up throughout the film. Cause and then watching interviews with Lena, because you just don't know everything that why she did certain things, but once she gets interviewed, she kind of broke some things down, like Jody Queen was actually like the embodiment of or representation of Malcolm X, and Slim was of MLK, and then I guess, and then when you see the mannerisms of both, I guess that's I can see how that can correlate. So it was just something I'm like, okay, cool, that I can see that. I can see why she said did that or said that, or why it could represent that. Like my shirt, my dress was DMX influence from one of the films. I don't know which film, but it was DMX inspired with the Beach Miami look. Few films, that's actually how he how he dressed. So I was like, okay, little things like that were kind of cool just to pick up on or learn afterwards.
Yeah, that was interesting too, because even the characters' names, like even though the title of the film is Queen and Slim, I can't remember in the film when they referenced each other as that.
They never actually said each other's name. Like you don't really get their names until the end.
Yeah. So I thought that was something that jumped out to me. I was just like, oh, okay. But I guess to wrap up, what would you say to those who are working in the community? You said you worked with young people, you've done spoken word poetry, you've performed in front of your community and other communities. You've gone on to these journeys and these excursions, at the drop of a hat in some instances.
Right.
What advice would you give to someone that's looking to start something, whether that's a journey to go get educated, whether that's to express themselves in ways that they maybe haven't, or just opportunities in general?
Just do it. Like, I think the hardest part about a lot of things is getting started. Like, if anything, like even simply me working out every day, like I hate working out, but once I get started, I'm in, I'm good. It's the rhythm.
Yeah.
And for the most part, that's the biggest hurdle to me. Like a lot of people say they want to do this, they want to do that, but they never put themselves in a position to do so. So at this point, like it's really just going out there and doing it. Practicing what you preach. If you want to do it, just find the different avenues. How you gonna be able to accomplish what it is that you would like to do. But sitting around waiting for it definitely ain't gonna happen. Like I don't think I'd wait around for anything, and I'm glad I didn't, because if I wasn't in certain places at certain times, I would have never gotten the blessings I received. So at that point, like I'm really just big on just getting down to the nitty gritty and lacing up your bootstraps and getting the work done.
Yeah.
So getting started is the way you want to do. Get started.
And it feels like to me, you genuinely enjoy the process. Like it's not just the end game. It's not just the performance. It's all the things that led up to the performance and after the performance that it feels like it's a part of the journey for you.
It's just crazy. Like when I tell you, I was in college, I was in Benedict. I get a phone call from my homeboy. I got a homeboy named Devin T. Robinson X. He lives in Atlanta, does his directing, writing, phenomenal dude. Then I got a friend that's in LA right now. He's from Miami. He's in LA. He's a comedian named Sean G. Small crazy world. I didn't meet Sean G in Miami. I met Sean G in New York. And he happens to be from Miami. Devin calls me up. Devin says, hey, let's audition for the Apollo. I'm like, what? The Apollo? I like, whatever, let's do it. Like I've always been like, okay, this is good enough. Let's do it, whatever.
Yeah.
So I fly to New York. And like I fly to New York that weekend. He like, when? He's like 2 days. I'm like, okay, whatever, let's do it.
Yeah.
I fly to New York. We on the bus. I'm so excited to be in New York to audition for the Apollo. We get off on I make us get off on the bus too early. So we're supposed to get off on like Lenox. We get off on Lexington. I'm like, so now we have to walk. So I'm like, So we take this long walk. So now we standing in front of the Apollo. We took the walk. We standing in front of the Apollo. Cold as hell. I'm in shorts like a fool. I'm in shorts. I got a book bag on. He always wears suits. So he got a full suit on. It's like midnight in New York. Then another guy walks up. So it's me, Devin. Another guy walks up. It's Sean G. Sean G walks up. Sean G's like, "What's up?" I'm like, "What's going on?" We started talking. He tells me from Carrot City. I'm like, "Carrot City?" I'm like, "Oh, snap, I'm from Oaktown. I'm from Miami." He's like, "Oh, okay. We're from the crib. We're from Miami." I said, "What you doing here?" He's doing the comedy. I get on the Apollo. I lose. I get back the following week. I win. My boy Sean G, he gets booed off the Apollo the first night we meet. The following year, he wins Jimmy Kimmel's America's Funniest College Student. Like, when I tell you, like, the people in my circle, everyone, like, when I say I enjoy the process, I enjoy everything that's happened up until the last thing, because, like, I wouldn't have never gotten there had those other things didn't transpire. Like, for me, like, it's really have all been, like, very, like, been positive ripples. Even the ones that ain't been that good, you know, I've been able to get over those speed bumps and still keep it going. So, like, man, I got so many jewels and this crazy stories. It's ridiculous, but man, like that in itself right there, like Sean D is one of my best friends, and he's crazy talented as a comedian. But he got booed off the Apollo. You know, that stuff like that deterred him. He would have never won the competition that he did win. You know, after. So it's like you can't knock the hustle. You can't knock the grind. You can't be afraid to just go out there and get started and just doing it, because I mean, you just never know, you know, the outcome of what's gonna happen. So I just try to put myself in the place where I can prosper.
Yeah, the hardest, like you said, like the hardest step to take is the first one, and once you take that,
I'm trying to tell you, it's smooth sailing from there. You're gonna sell, but you know, you just got to be prepared for the ripples here and there. But for the most part, if you know what you want to do, it's gonna happen. You just got to put yourself in there. Like, my biggest thing was, like, honestly, I didn't get that role in LA, but I was in the room. You know what I'm saying? I was in the room, so I was able to be seen by this casting director. So she didn't have to, she still remembered me, you know, enough to be like, hey, you know what, I got somebody, because that's what it was. Lena hit the casting director up. She said, I got someone perfect for that role. And that's how it even happened. So, like, putting yourself in the room and in that space, man, like, it's nothing more better than that. It's great.
Man, put yourself in the room. That's dope, man. Hey, listen, man, this conversation has been phenomenal, man. Like, I loved hearing your stories. Like, you have a wealth of experience, and my heart is like smiling right now, because like all the different things that you've been through, you seem to be so appreciative of the process. And a lot of times, particularly in this era, we usually see the fruit, but not the root, right? We always, you know, we see these curated lifestyles and not really understanding the journey it took to actually get that. People will look at you and be like, oh, that's even Queen Slim, but you had all of these things leading up to Queen Slim, right? And so that's, I could really appreciate walking me down that journey, brother. And you are incredibly talented. Thank you for rocking with me today, being put on the spot and sharing your.
I appreciate you, Bray. No problem.
It's been dope, man. And I just want to let you know before we go, man, I love you, brother. I see you. You matter. Your work matters. And please, please continue to share your gift, man. Please.
I appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much, man. Love, man.
All right, love, brother. Take it easy, man.
Yeah.
All right, peace.